Boom, 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 cha, boom, boom, cha, boom, boom, cha, boom, boom. I was just listening to the Red Hot Chili Peppers' last album earlier today. Did anybody hear that last one, The Getaway? It's really good. How did that slip through the radar? Anyway, sorry we're late, 8 minutes past. It's actually not Eric's fault. Or maybe it was. No, it wasn't. I'm buying a house. I know after Feedback Friday yesterday, we had the wonderful Michael Garding. Hi, Michael. I hope you're here today. Who was really generous and expressed, told us about a little bit about himself and how important the Academy was for him and great sax playing and everything. And I just remember, I don't want to get all emotional, but this is what I love about this community is that there's so many great people in here and everybody, we feel so comfortable. So I'm telling you more than anybody else in the world. My mother doesn't even know this. We're buying a house. So we're buying a nicer, bigger house for 2 kids because we have a beautiful studio, but a house about this big. It's like the size of a postage stamp. And I'm not joking. It is tiny. Lem's seen it. Haven't you, Lem? It's very small. So that's what I was dealing with this morning. And at about 10 to 11, the phone rang with mortgages and brokers. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be live streaming. So that's why we're late. I'm sure plenty of you have been through that particular one. Yes, Frusciante is back. Thanks ever so much, Alex. Hi, Tom. Hi, URL Tom. Hi, Hit the Road Music Studio. Hey, Nate. Hey, Sheila. Hi, Michael. Who else is here? Michael Arthur Music. Mark Becker. Sheila. I'm sure. Is Anita here? I'm going to say, hey, Anita, even if she's not. Peter. Mark, David. Yes, hello, Anita, I see you. David Allen Hammond. Hey, David. Blue Wave Dave. Michael Garding. Yes, he is here. I think I said Michael. Michael without the last name. Alex, I think I'm getting everybody I see. Lockdown Band. Hello there. Chappie. Hey, Chappie. Hi, Troy Foss. Hey, Darko. Anyway, and hello, Steve and Vincent. Are we relocating the studio? No, we're keeping this. So this is all going to be carry on as normal. As we say in England, carry on regardless. Now, this will all stay, but the family will be living in a bigger house, which is actually going to be good. Eric doesn't know yet, but because there's a spare bedroom in the new place, we'll probably do some filming there and have a more modest setup just for a bit of, that actually might be kind of nice. We'll do like, what it's like to mix at home in a home environment, and then we'll come into the nice studio mix here. So we'll probably do a bit of both, which will be really, really good. While I'm on the subject of studios and home studios and stuff, please don't forget to send in on the forum post. Where's the forum post? Let's go and find it. Dum-de-dum-dum-dum. Oops. You'd think I could type produce like a pro in. Oh, do you use Chrome? Is that going to come up on Chrome? Eric's a Chrome user. Yeah. Because, he uses a Mac, so why wouldn't you use a Google product? So... I'm just teasing. Okay, so did you put the forum in the forum?
Which forum are we talking about?
We're talking about the forum for people to put up video or photo content and talk about their studios. Is it in here? I haven't checked yet. You haven't checked? There it is. Want to be on our social media outlets, quick to find out how. Okay, so a couple of things. And you still haven't changed the emails in there. You've left it all as John and Produce Like a Pro.
I haven't changed that one.
Why not?
I don't know. I think it's because it's a post made by John, so I messaged James about that.
Okay. Yeah, so don't email it to John. Email it to Eric at producelikeapro.com. But yes, we are going to... we're going to do a number of things before we get stuck into the mix. Let's just talk about this. A number of things we're going to do... we'll post on Instagram of Academy members, and I think we only have a handful at the moment. Where do I find them? Are they in here?
Yeah, if you click on want to be on our social media at the.
And then there's, where are they? They in here? Plappers Unite, Take Over, How to Do It, Frequently Asked. Where are they? Where are all the photos and stuff?
Oh, everyone's been emailing it to me.
Okay, well, okay, so eventually we're going to have a forum place where you can put them in, because that's what we talked about yesterday. Remember afterwards we talked about doing that? We should.
Yeah, I have an email chain with all of us.
Okay, but what we need to do is we need to have it in a forum so people can post it in there. They can ask you questions or whatever.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to reorganize that. That's like
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it yesterday, then people can link to it. Anyway, the point is like, there's a couple of fun things. So firstly, what we're going to do is we're going, we have a few Instagram accounts. My one's pretty vibrant, and Produce Like a Pro's own Instagram account's been going for a few months now, and that's growing pretty rapidly. So what we can do is we can put everybody's studios on there. And of course, if you have Instagram or Facebook or whatever, we can tag you. And that's more about not just growing it within our own community, but, showing off, frankly, all of his incredible members to everybody. So that's the number one reason for doing it. And the other reason is there's some good, interesting opportunities coming up, and we need to choose some studios which fit those opportunities. And I know that's super vague, but we're still negotiating stuff. And I was talking about that yesterday. So please, please, please don't worry if your setup is a 2i2 or an Audient ID4 and a 57 and a pair of headphones. That's fine. In fact, actually, I want to know more. So just show us what your setup is, even if it's super, super modest, or even if it's the opposite and it's an SSL and a Neve console and a huge drum room with a grand piano. I'd love to know more. And there is method in my madness and method in our madness. And of course, we will feature all of those as well. So please don't hesitate to do that. And just in general, there's a massive ulterior motive, and that means we can all share each other's studios and information, and it's really rather wonderful. Wow, introduce yourself. I like going on the site while they were all on here. What was the other thing we were talking about? Oh yes, our friend Michael. Has anybody been asking any questions? Here it is. So have anybody been here yet and gone to the electronic engineering, maintaining, upgrading and fixing gear Q&A with Michael Stucker? So it looks like there's maybe a couple of questions here. Input transformer. So it's an input transformer. Did Michael answer it? He did. He goes, wow, that's an interesting... So the question from Darko who's here, he says, do you maybe know which audio input transformer goes the lowest in frequency response? I've been playing with some ideas and I need that I can use one as an injection transformer for the measurement. I need to go down to 1 hertz. Wow, that's low. Up to a few tens of kilohertz or so. Ratio can be 1-to-1, preferably 10-to-1. And Michael said, that's an interesting question. I don't know of any transformers that would have a reasonable response that low. I would suggest contacting David Cinemag. If one Kami meter exists, he would know. My first thought is an input circuit would be the best option for 1K, but it's hard to know without knowing more about your use case. Right. 1 hertz, sorry. Yeah, maybe Darko, you can respond to him and give him an idea of what your uses are. Maybe then he can help out some more. But anyway, please go in there and ask Michael some questions about gear. He's pretty darn knowledgeable and a really, really sweet guy. Okay, I haven't listened to this song since we worked on it. I'm going to listen to it on speakers. Why the heck not? Before I put on the headphones, I'm going to listen to it on some speakers and see what we've got. And I'm going to make some notes.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live regretting it all. Our mistakes weren't worth making. I couldn't help myself in love. I've been bound to fall. lonely that chills my bones, and it's the scars that hide the truth, but it's my heart that makes me run right back to you. You were one I should have never let go. A memory of you, that's all I know. You turn your back on loving now, tearing up my heart into pieces into the ground. You let them fall. It's the darkness that hurts the most. And it's the lonely that chills my bones. It's the scars that hide the truth, but it's my heart that makes me run right back to I know it's wrong to want you after all you've put me through. It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills my bones. It's the scars that hide the truth, but it's my heart that makes me run right back to you.
Nice. Quite happy with that for a first go. It's interesting. I remember I spent a long time on that kick. And whoa, first thing that comes out is like, yoza, schnizzle, schnazzle, what a low end on that kick. So isn't it remember, I always say this, the Jim Scott quote, the last thing you worked on is the loudest thing in the mix. And we definitely, I spent a long time working on the kick drum. So you'll see that what I was doing there on the fly was just kind of dialing back some of that low end. Yeah, it's coming from the interface just through the, for those of you who are asking, through a stereo input on the console. No compression, no EQ, just a playback. So, but it's all coming from, can you see it in the shot? Can they see it?
Yeah, you can see the corner of the interface.
Yeah, you're using the ID44. This is all mixing in the box using inexpensive equipment. I mean, obviously, a handful of the plugins are a little more expensive, but not really. It's pretty darn cheap. Most of it's stock with a handful of waves. So what I was doing is I was bringing back the lows. So I actually brought back the boost here. And I like that kick. I was concerned because we spent so long on the kick. One of my concerns was I was going to open up this song today, and because I promised you, and I didn't listen to it between now and then, and I promised you would have the same experience. We'd all have the same experience together. I haven't listened or worked on this song outside of anything we've all done together, obviously. But one of the concerns was I was going to open up this kick, and it was going to be, I wasn't going to like it, because I know I wanted big and tubby, and it is that. It's just loud. It's just got a lot of low end. And I was also a little concerned that it was going to be too kind of like just low end, but it isn't. It's kind of right. So I'm thinking about here to just change that from a 4 dB to a 2 dB on the thump on this one here. That's tough. It sort of works both ways. So what I'm going to do is just, because I've got the R bass here, which I brought down to 60. So I'm going to split the difference. Rather than going to a 4 dB, from a 4 dB to a 2 dB on the thump, which is quite a drastic change, I'm just going to bring down the intensity a little bit more on this R bass. We have a listen to it on its own. That's cool. That's very, very reminiscent of the sub I would trigger from in Pro Tools. I'm actually let's have a listen to this. Just going to experiment for a second. Sorry about that. Had it cranked. And then, of course, the mic fed back. User error. Anyway, did that kill anybody in the other room?
Wasn't.
Eric said no. But anyway, I like that. I like that. So what I've done is I've actually gone below the 60. Call me crazy. So I've gone down just to 38. I just went down, and so I'm making this sub an actual sub. And then I brought it down. I brought it down a couple of dB on the gain output here. I also brought down the intensity about 4 dB. And also the output here came down. So basically I tucked it down underneath a little bit more, but I made it a little bit more subby. Why did I do that? I did it because I felt like it was too much. Tom says, ouch. What a surprise. So so what I felt like was there was just too much like 60 like in that area, you know what I mean? There was just like too much it was too much of a build up, and it was just like becoming almost like a tone of just like, wah, you know what I mean, all around that kind of area. So I want the sub to be an actual sub. And I think that works much better now. So I'm just tucking it underneath. Great. Let's have a listen to all the kick together. Okay, I like that. It's more natural now. I think what was happening when I was first listening is there was a lot of like 60 all around that area, and it was just kind of a little bit to me like 60, you know, It was almost like a tuned note, and that was one of my fears, even though it's not as bad as I thought it might be. It was one of my fears when I came in to listen to this morning, thinking to myself, is this going to be like a tone? Because I know we did a lot of, or, you know, like a lot of focus on that area. Okay, I'm just listen to the drums in solo for a second. I'm pretty happy with that. The only thing I want to do on this drum sound now is take like this main kick here, which is the most, you know, quote unquote natural one. and or maybe, what about these two elements together? Let's have a listen. Actually, that might not be a bad idea. Both of them ascending out of 3. I know I'm going to create a new So 13, 14. So I'm actually going to create a reverb here, a kick verb. So this is going to be just like, just to make it feel like it's more in a room. If you remember right at the beginning when we were talking about this, I said it's quite possible that I'll start adding more and more reverb to everything. So it feels like this classic, you know, Motown Stax Atlantic kind of thing. You know what I mean? So we're going to do a bit of an Abbey Road on this. We'll wipe off the low lows of the kick here. We don't need that. Maybe we can go up to low mids about here. And we won't need the highs. So we're doing a little bit of an Abbey Road trick going into that verb. Okay, let's make it a bit smaller. Oh, it's much nicer. So that's a plate now and 1.5 seconds. Bit brighter on that snare now. I'm going to grab that 2-band EQ and turn it into a 4. So go down here. This is nice for taking a break, you know, going away from the song and then coming back. Boost some 100. Nice. Now, the other thing I did is I grabbed that lead vocal at the front there and turned it down. So let's go back and have a listen to that now. So I think we're going to do some automation stuff.
Can't forget.
That's much nicer. Now, there's a little bit of attack on the can't forget.
Can't forget. Can't forget. Can't.
It almost feels like a double. Just for my own edification, I'm going to do this.
Can't forget. I can't forget.
Nope, that doesn't work for me.
Can't forget.
It's a little out of time, and I have to decide, do I actually like that because it's more real, or is it out of time? You know what I mean? It's like, this is...
Can't forget.
Because the comes in like early. So, you know, if I was to do for schnitz and giggles, like, this is totally wrong, but this is for illustration.
Can't forget.
There's all of this stuff going on here, so we have to get rid of this for a second.
Can't forget.
Yeah. This is all just for illustration.
Can't forget.
See what I mean? So now it's in time.
Can't forget. Can't forget our past love. Can't live regret. Can't forget.
It's interesting you're hearing it as loud. I'm hearing it as out of time, so it takes me out of it.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live. Can't forget our past love.
Yeah, we could try warping it. This was just more of a like, I'm trying to decide. You know, like I said, the process of doing this is for us to sort of like, discuss the choices that are being made, why I do things, And like I said, I will do things and then for half an hour and then undo it.
Can't forget.
Split decision. Some people saying they like it in time and some people saying they preferred it before. It is before.
Can't forget.
Let's get the whole pre-roll.
Can't forget.
There's something about it just sliding over which is nice. We just have to decide.
Can't forget.
This is where it can get really quite silly.
Can't forget. Can't forget. Can't forget. Can't forget. I can't forget our past love. Can't live regretting it all. Can't forget.
All right, one other option is to just shorten that, just so we can hear that as well. So we're just going to shorten that little piece.
Can't forget.
It's actually not bad.
Can't forget our past love.
I know she's human and not a machine, but when you're producing, these are the things we do. We go and we get an artist and we say, hey, punch in and fix a word. I can tell you when I was making records in like the early 90s as a musician, just only on tape, if something like this, we would have the singer in there and re-sing it and go, if we don't like it, we used to fix a lot of stuff. Jack would tell me, tell stories of the Cheap Trick, like triggering snares and then when the first digital delays came out in the mid 70s, they would have a snare sample that they would trigger and then they'd have to realign the tape, and it was a nightmare to do it with SMPTE, but they could do it and they did it. We've always cheated. The Beatles slowed down tape to play parts and punch in, and we've always cheated. This is less of a cheat and just more like if she was here and didn't live in a different state, I would fix it.
Can't forget.
I actually think I prefer that. It just shortens it, it's more on it, and just makes sense. So I'm going to have to do a little schnizzle with everything. And you don't have to do this. You've got the multi-tracks. You can do whatever you like. And again, I'm not an expert. I just do what sounds good to me. And that might not sound good to you. And that's absolutely fine. And there's definitely, at least from our end, there's no hierarchy. This is all about like what works for you and what sounds good to your ears, Those are all late, which is fine. And we have some verbs here. So we're just going to shift that up a little bit. None of this is going to make a huge amount of difference. This is more just about me, I like detail. So let's bring all that stuff back and have a listen.
Can't Can't forget.
Yeah, it's still slightly out of time. It's just the isn't as dragged. She was going, can't forget, can't, and now it's can't forget, and it's still slightly early. It's just not as elongated, and I feel like that's the kind of the compromise. And what's interesting, like I said, I took a break away from it because I was focusing on so many other things that now I could hear the song as a whole, you know? And that's part of our job. And considering, you know, we're mixing the song, I think this is the only edit we've made.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live regretting it all. Our mistakes weren't worth making. I couldn't help myself in love. I've been bound to fall. It's the darkness that hurts the most. It's the lonely that chills my bones, and it's the scars that hide the truth. But it's my heart that makes me run back to you.
I like that line that's coming in there. It's just not quite loud enough for me, so it gets naturally louder. It's just I did this in Logic a long time ago. So I'm just going to like turn that little line up ever so slightly. So this is where we're at. We're sort of like, you know, just taking moments.
I couldn't help myself in love. I've been bound to fall. It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Isn't it amazing how subtle that is? Now, I brought that up, and this is just a great lesson in mixing. So we're at -5 there, and now we're at -4.1. So I brought it up a 1.8 dB, and it's too loud. So now let's go and split the difference a bit. So now it's basically come up 1.1 dB. Whoops. Let's have a listen to that. See, when you're in this kind of like fine balance, it can really throw things out. You know what I mean?
I couldn't help myself in love. I've been bound to fall. It's the darkness that hurts the most. It's the lonely that chills my bones, and it's the scars that hide the truth. But it's my heart that makes me run right back to you.
That feels good to me. So it's interesting, you know, that subtlety there. I feel like we did some fun stuff with this. We boosted some 3K, which was nice because I like the 3K. That's where you hear like the bow on the strings because it's kind of zzz, you know what I mean? Kind of a zzz, 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 zzz. But I actually want to hear air. In general, I just want to hear like a little bit. So I'm just going to go. We could go for something fancy, but I don't think it needs to be fancy. Did you figure out the plugin boutique since last week, since Wednesday?
I need a new email from them, I think.
Say it again.
I think they're the ones I need the new email from. Because I have the email of the old guy that's no longer there.
Okay, well, I'm glad I asked. Plug-in lines. Okay. So the answer is no. So, okay. So I was going to reach for the mark, but we still haven't sorted that out. So what I'm going to do, regardless of the mark, is just grab like 8.5K here. Yeah, let's just do this like ever so slightly.
It's the darkness that hurts the most. It's the lonely that chills my bones, and it's the scars that hide the truth. But it's my heart that makes run right back to you.
Nice.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
I'm trying to find a happy balance because we haven't done, as you've probably noticed, anything on a master bus whatsoever. So I'm really trying to just, you know, like we talk about a lot, you know, we were doing on Feedback Friday yesterday, is to like go in there. We were using, because we only had 2-track mixes to listen to, but we're trying to figure out what the issues are. And if the issue was like earlier on, that's where we solve it. So for me, it's like, I just want to open up the strings a little bit for some air, but I don't want them to be unbalanced so that I'm then doing that, you know, that compounded thing where I go, I make this bright, then this becomes brighter, and that becomes brighter, and this becomes brighter, and that becomes brighter. And before you know it, my whole mix is like super bright and destroying our ears. I've already brightened the snare a little bit and added a little bit more body, but I felt like that was a necessity to balance it in the mix. Now, for me on these strings, you know, I printed these sounds with verb and everything on it. It was stock and I loved it.
It chills my.
Now, I really have to decide, because I recorded this vocal the way I wanted to hear it, and there's going to be moments that I might have to get in here and clip gain it, you know, and I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with clip gaining.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live regretting it all. Our mistakes weren't worth making. I couldn't help myself in love. I've been bound to fall. It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Oh, I love that. Hurts. How good is that?
It's the darkness that hurts the most. It's the lonely that.
I'm going to try something. So I'm going to just grab this here. Just going to show you some little vocal things that I'll do. Take that little area there and then clip gain it up. Then find a place to put a fade.
It's the most.
Ah, yes. Hear the way that most now is just singing.
It's the darkness that hurts the most. It's the lonely.
It's just like most. It's just like you can hear the warmth all the way through. Ah, I'll do it before just for schnicks and sniggles.
That hurts the most.
It's nice, but this is better.
Hurts the most. It's the lonely that chills my bones, and it's the scars that hide the truth. But it's my heart that makes me run right back to you. You were one I should have never let go. Oh, man.
Right, listen to the drums again. Turn that 100 off for a second. I like it without the 100 on. The 100's starting to make it feel like. Let's put it back in the track.
You were one.
Yeah, put the 100 on. See if you can hear what I'm hearing. Here's with the 100 boost.
You were one I should have never let.
Once again with the 100 boost on the snare.
You were one.
Now with it off.
You were one I should have.
I think there's enough body already on there. I have, yeah. It's just high boost is really all I'm applying, and it seems to be making the most amount of sense. There's already a lot going on here on the top. I didn't do anything particularly on the bottom. We can have a listen. And we've got that crush going on. It's actually quite nice, just on the crush, just to pull out, to boost the high end a little bit. Yeah, it's like I hear you. I like the tubbiness, but it I don't know what it was. It just sounded artificial. There's that sort of point where you start hearing the EQ that you're applying. You know what I mean? It's like you're always going to hear it because that's what we do. You know, we listen to EQ moves. But when it starts feeling like, oh, that's really boosted, that's not good, you know. That's why I think people love Pultecs being, you know, passive EQs. They have a tendency to just feel more natural. But anyway, let's put the bass in. Now, there's a natural arc on this piano where I just dug in more as the song went on, but I'm just going to bring it up just for schnitch and sniggles once the drums come in, a tiny amount. And maybe it's more of an emotional thing for me. It's come up 0.3 of a dB. Yep, I know that sounds crazy, but that's what I'm doing. Tubby is just like low, like it's like tubby, fat, you know, with a PH. No, you know, just kind of like big and fat and tubby. And sometimes, you know, it's too much, like it was there. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to find that, you know, that area where she comes in, and just turn up the effects. So here's the reverbs that I supplied for you, which I'm going to keep. You know, usually I add other reverbs and delays. I haven't yet felt the need for the delay line, but it's probably going to come. So.
Should have never let go. A memory of you, that's all I.
Because I want it to feel like the same balance. So if you listen to the reverb here.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live regret.
You hear it. You hear it. I don't want to swamp it too much, but I'm tempted to just bring all of it. Like a little bit. So the whole reverbs are now both come up in general, but more once the band comes in, once the drums come in.
You were one I should have never let go. A memory of you, that's all I know. You turn your back.
I think that tambo can come up a little bit. I was being very hesitant on it before, but let's have a listen. I think the bass is too loud in those choruses.
To the ground, you let them fall. It's the darkness that hurts.
I think I want to apply a little bit more grit. So here, you see I just boosted a bit of the high mids there. We could probably boost a little tiny bit of the high on the Sans amp, a little bit more preamp, a little bit more drive. Just so it's a bit more in the track. You don't hear that quite so much. So I'm going to bring down that chorus bass line there, like about half a dB or so. Let's have a listen to the transition.
No.
Yeah, there's reverb on the individual tambourine hits, just the singles.
Heart in pieces and to the ground, you let them fall. It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that she.
Okay, so what I did there is I actually moved the high mid boost up a little higher. So yeah, it's my Harmony 12 string, which apparently at the moment is in a case, which I didn't realize.
It's in the back corner. Back
So-
corner of the guitars behind you.
It's in the back corner of the guitars behind me. Oh yeah, it's right over there.
Yeah, just on the picture.
It's really nice. It's like a 60s or early 70s harmony. It's been most people's favorite. Trevor Hall, Brendan McMorrow, Dustin Thomas, all these guys come in and then they play it and they're all like, do you want to sell it? Everybody wants to buy it. I feel like I want this to be more clamped down, but I also want to add some effects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this playlist, and it's not the playlist, duplicate the auxiliary, and call it 12-string verb. So I'm going to use the same EQ and compression on it, believe it or not, but I'm then going to stick a reverberation after it. And I'm going to wipe off the low and the high and do my trick. So the left is going to go to the right and the right's going to go to the left. Don't know what it is. I like it, but I'm still not in love with it. I don't want it to be super modern and sparkly. I don't want it to sort of completely fill out of place with the rest of it, but I do want it to sort of feel... So what I'm doing is I'm actually taking both those two elements and bussing them together. You'll see what I mean. So we'll call this 12 sub... I don't know. I'll call it all, so I know it's everything together. And then I'm going to let's grab something a little bit stronger, which you probably all know is going to be the MV2, which is my kind of go-to. It's just a great, it basically does everything I need to do in parallel because I've got the low-level stuff and the high-level here. So let's listen to this. It's doing what I wanted to do. It's making all of those notes a little bit more even. So I'm going to bring the output down quite dramatically because once I bring the high level down, you'll notice the whole output's going to jump. I like that. I'm doing slight bass management now, like low end management. So I'm just slightly tightening a couple of things, like just moving the kick a little bit, moving the bass away from the kick a little bit, ever so slightly. So I did a little tiny bit less R bass boost. I slightly made the kick on the L1 ever so slightly louder, just trying to, and then brightened it ever so slightly. Now let's have a listen to these, which are wrongly written as bells. They have a bell in it, but it's timpani. I like them. They could be brighter slightly, so you hear more of a hit, and they could be louder in the mix. So, hey, Eric, you got a joke ready to go? Because, you know, I've had 5 cups of tea. That's interesting. Now the right-hand side bell is coming up dramatically. You hear that? With that extra brightness? Things are hiding their heads, and then suddenly, oh, there they are. Bringing the 12 string down a little bit. Yeah, I agree, Kevin. There's something magical about the MV2. It's interesting because it sort of got ignored for so many years by me and everybody. And it was just like one of those sort of subtle magic plugins that came out that nobody really gravitated towards. And then I'd watch a million videos and people talking about how to control low end. And then one day I was like, oh, I should try the MV2. I mean, it's only about a few years ago now. And I put it on a bass and I was like, where has this been my whole life? All of these parallel compression tricks and all this fun, stupid snizzle that I was doing to get the bass line to sit perfectly. And the MV2 did it immediately. It's interesting. I don't necessarily need to use it on this one yet. My brain hasn't gone there. But for just, it's just a remarkably good plugin. I think you know what it suffered from? It suffered from gear slut-itis. People started going, well, you see, the thing is with the MV2 is the way that the algorithm works is it, takes the frequency and blah, 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 and there's an audible distortion at 5.2K and the blah, blah, blah. I remember, like, reading, like, all of this reasoning why something shouldn't sound good. And I think I didn't take it on board and going, I'm not going to use it, but I think there was so much chatter about it. Same way there's a lot of chatter about the L1 and the L2. And then you go and work with the best in the business and everybody's using L1s, L2s. So it's kind of a catch-22, and then you go to mastering studios and they have hardware versions of L2s. But if you would ask somebody in a forum, they'd be like, oh no, you can't use those. No, the dithering, blah 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 blah. But then you play them tracks and go, by great producers, engineers, and mixers, and go, what do you think of that? And, like Chad Blake or something. Have you heard the new Green Day album? What amazing mixing. Just incredible. The best they've ever sounded. And so you listen to that, and it's super artsy and cool, and then you watch a mix, and it's like Sans Amp and L1 and L2 and, all the things that you're not supposed to use. So that I'm going to bring that piano up again. It starts to get lost in there. So we're just incrementally coming in here. So once all the strings come in, the piano's getting a little lost. So I'm going to bring it up quite a lot and see what happens. I still want to hear a little bit more grit on that bass. Isn't that crazy? Tempted to just go here and just... Oh, I like hearing it there. That was nice. Well, Darko, the way to replace an MV2 is really just to use... I just looked down to make sure that the hard drive wasn't plugged in the front. Whoa, Eric was nervous. The way to do it is really just to parallel, because what the MV2 is doing is it's taking the low level information. Like, so what I mean by that is, like, here's a bass line, obviously on acoustic, and it's like... And you get that with almost every bass player, and not even so much the player. It can be the bass as well. I mean, there's guys like Dan Rothschild, who's the living, breathing proof of only have one bass. He has a precision that he's had since new in 1974. And he knows the bass. So no matter where he plays completely and utterly evenly, because he knows all there's no dead spots, but the more dead areas and the more live areas. And his technique is just built around knowing his instrument. I feel that way when you watch Brian May play. You think to yourself, he knows every single, not inch, millimeter, macro, whatever the word is. He knows those instruments back to front. So a lot of bass players can come in and play super evenly, but you give a bass player one of my basses, he or she may not know that some of those notes are just like, they're going to fret out easily, so they might overplay them. And of course, when you overplay, the string, instead of freely vibrating and control and having a beautiful low end, will hit the fretboard a little bit, and before you know it, the low end is missing. So all of these things are very important when understanding how to mix bass. And like I say, a great player of a great bass, life is great. But that doesn't happen that often. We all deal with low-level signal on bass, super high booming notes, wolf tones, all kinds of craziness, and then inaudible pieces. And most importantly, we have a lack of low end. So the MV2 is like taking those little quiet notes and those loud notes and doing this. And it's quite obvious stuff. So how do we replicate that? Well, what you can do is you can take the bass signal itself and send it to a bus and have it hit all those peaks like you normally would. Compress the peaks, squash the peaks back down. Okay, that works pretty well. And we've all done it. And we use L1s and compressions and all kinds of stuff to do it. But if you want what the MV2 does, you'll then parallel it and take the low stuff and annihilate it. So all the low stuff is like, boom, boom, it's like super, super powerful and everything pumping. So you're going to compress it super, super hard in a parallel and then push that in. So now the low stuff, and I don't mean frequency, but low in volume, in gain, comes up, and the high stuff comes down and meets it. So you can do it, but to get that same effect, and I've done it, you have to use a parallel function. So what the MV2 does is just take that away from me. I don't need to use parallel anymore. It was pretty remarkable when I discovered it. Just for the sake of it, I'm rolling off some lows in the strings. There's not really any there, but I'm doing it anyway just to get... It's a force of habit. High passing, let's throw in this. I just copied down that REQ with the gentle kind of 8K boost on the staccato strings.
I should have never let go.
I feel like the vocal still, reverb still has to come up. Tempted to just put a little bit before, a bit more. Let's have a listen.
You were one I should have never let go.
Cool, yeah, I'm certainly happy to do a mixing using stock plugins. I've done a couple on YouTube, but I'm happy to do it here as well. I think that'd be great fun to do.
You were one I should have never let go. A memory of you, that's all I know. You turn your back on loving now, tearing up my heart into pieces until the ground you let them fall. It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills my.
Okay, so those need some schnizzle. They're panned very wide at the moment, but not very loud. So let's turn them up just for the heck of it and have a listen what it's going to be like louder.
Ground, you let them fall. It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills my bones. It's the scars that hide the truth, but it's my.
Okay, so there is here.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
So that double is just, hasn't got any personality at the moment.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
So I'm going to copy down a couple of things. Let's bring down the de-esser, the first EQ, and RVox, and have a listen.
It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills my bones.
I feel like I want to do something fun to it. So let's go and grab a delay. So let's go into delays here. Oh, let's use our friend, the Pulsar Echo-Rec. Is that working on here? Yay!
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
And we're going to do a whole thing on this soon with a massive discount and everything. So don't go rushing off and buying it yet, because in a week or two you're going to be able to get it super cheap.
It's the darkness that hurts.
These are very good friends of ours. They gave us that Smasher plugin to give away, which I should be using. What's going on?
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
I love this plugin.
It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills my bones.
Oh, yeah.
It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills my bones.
I like plugins that you just put on and go, yeah, that's better.
It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills my bones.
Now, let's bring those harmonies narrower a little bit. Like 50-50-ish. Okay. I want to do some... Okay, let's do this. We'll bus them. So let's just make a stereo bus. 17-18, so that will come in there. How's your joke coming on?
I think I got something in the books.
He says he thinks he's got somebody. So harmony sub. You know what? Because it was grouped together, that was going through as well. We don't want that. We just need this part here. Okay. He's got something. Well, let's do this, and then you can have a go. So I'm going to do some generic EQ and basically just get it out of the way. So that means just doing some high passing. I'll probably come up to about here, 150. I'm going to do a bit of brightening. You know what I should do before I do that? Let's grab a 4 band, because I don't need any S's and T's and to interfere with the lead vocal. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to low pass as well. So it's kind of come into about 4 or 5K and just get rid of it. But we can brighten up and around about here for schnizzle.
It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills my bones. It's the scars that hide the truth.
I sort of want to trash him out a little bit. I don't know whether to go for a lo-fi or sans amp or something. I feel like I want to use... Let's put the smasher on there. Why the heck not? Smash-tastic.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Let's go crazy on it.
It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills my bones.
And then let's bring the mix down.
It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that...
And it might be prudent of us just to get rid of some of those exaggerated breaths. We don't really need them at the moment.
It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely...
That one there. Some of this sort of noisiness. And I can get a bit more detail in a minute, but just so you hear the general thing.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Went too far for the T. Here we go.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Cool. El Lyco.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Tempted to try the Echo Rec. Maybe I'm going to do it all on one bus. I don't normally do this. Normally what I would do, I'm sure you've seen me do this, is create a separate bus for reverb and delay on the background. But because it's all going through the same place, I'm going to do that. So I'll go and grab the... let's do something completely different. Echo Boy is obviously our friend.
Switching over to camera audio for now.
Eric, you gotta get. Is renewed. Echo Boy is not renewed. Okay, I bought that, so we definitely should have that. Okay, what else are we going to open up and find out is not working here? Hey, H delay! Yay! God bless it. Do. So let's go to 1/32.
It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills my bones.
So I like this because I got the high and low pass filters.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
So I can make sure those delays are like, you know, I don't want that.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Let's detune those delays.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Probably a little too much.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Put in a fade there and there.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Okay, I like that. Now what I'm going to do, you guessed it, is put a bit of reverberation. I'll go for an R-verb, something pretty basic. Wipe some top and bottom off. We don't need the mix to be 100%, of course, so wet, dry here. We'll bring that down about here.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
3/4 of a second.
It's the darkness that hurts the most. And it's...
I like what that's doing. I might MV2 this. At least have it prepared and do it in the track. So, Let's have a listen in the track.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
Victory. I really like that. El Lyco. This is really coming to life for me. So we've had some fun. I'm going to use the bathroom, and Eric is going to tell one of his famous bad jokes. Are you coming? Go, Eric. Go, Eric. With the bad jokes. Just don't do... What was the one yesterday that just was not funny at all?
Oh, I deleted it from my phone and my memory.
He deleted it from his phone and memory. Okay.
Oh, it was something about the answer was Piccolo.
Did you make a note on the Echo Boy? Because I met them the other day.
Oh yeah. And the other guys, Hello everyone. So, my famous bad jokes. Oh, I guess this is more of a this is a riddle. Let's try this. At the sound of me, men may dream or stamp their feet. At the sound of me, women may laugh or sometimes weep. Who am I? Or what am I? One of those. Yes, I need theme music. That would be great. Move my hair around a lot. Yeah, my hair. I hopefully tomorrow I can get a haircut and get rid of all this hair. Oh yeah, the pickle joke. I forgot how it went. I did delete it. That one was a tough. It was a tough one. Hello, Michael. Better be a good bad joke. Yeah. I'm covering up all this monstrosity of hair I have. Do have another joke I can tell in the meantime from that riddle. I need a joke writer. That would be great. It gets tough because then I start to run out, and then people on Piccolo. Yeah, that was the answer. That was the answer for the yesterday's. Yeah, if you try looking for jokes on the internet, they are probably worse than the ones I tell. Gotta say. At the sound of me, men may dream or stamp their feet. At the sound of me, women may laugh or sometimes weep. That's the riddle. Thank you, David. Warren calls this my my Bieber hair, which I don't appreciate. In the meantime, hey, where do animals go when their tails fall off? The retail store. Oh my god, yes. I need to have an intro that just has that whole Eric, but like that. Yeah, I like that vibrato sound effect. Oh yeah. Shaving your hair off is less hassle, that's for sure. Not having to do your hair. Just wake up and go. Sheila, you're gonna cut all your hair. What? Yeah, that one was probably another bad joke right there. No one's answered my riddle. Yeah, I haven't tried Siri. I don't have an Alexa, but I haven't tried Siri for jokes. Someone please make me a theme song. I swear I'll put it in our little stream. What is that called? The thing that we're using to stream. I'm totally blanking on the name of it. But I'll put it in there and play some of the theme music as I walk on. Which you can do. I can get crazier with the software I'm using to do all this stuff. I just haven't looked into it. Which actually, another thing, I have a question for you guys. If anyone knows the whole like streaming bit, like the bit stream, I'm streaming 8 megabytes, not kilobytes, 8 megabytes and YouTube is wanting, and it's suggesting that I use 4 megabytes, which I always thought, hey, maybe sending more megabytes would be a stronger stream, but I guess it doesn't work that way. Is that just kind of like forcing too much into a smaller hole that it just can't get through? Or I don't know how that works. Streaming and all that stuff, there's still so much that I have no idea anything really about.
What was the joke? What was the joke?
It was more. Oh, I did tell a joke too. One of the jokes was where is it? Where do animals go when their tails fall off? And the answer is the retail store.
Oh my God.
But there's also
Goodness gracious.
there's
great
also-
balls of...
yeah. There's
Okay,
also
what
a
time is it,
riddle.
Eric?
It's time to get food.
Yes, okay. Check with Kasha.
Yeah. By the way, the answer to the riddle is music.
What's the riddle?
At the sound of me, men may dream or stamp their feet. At the sound of me, women may laugh or sometimes weep. Who am I?
How? Look at him being all philosophical.
Yeah.
So I think we're closing in on this. We're going to listen to it from El Topo. I haven't done anything to... I did the GTR because he... Let's have a quick listen on that. And we did the reverbs. Oh, yeah, we did those, yeah. Let's have a listen. Interesting. I'm going to swamp it out with a bit more verb. The GTR is super cheap. It's a little fuzzy. I can't... Maybe I can... Maybe I can put our own IRs on there for a second. It's just fuzzy sounding. You know what I mean? Zzz, so, yeah. Where did Eric put my IRs? Do. I just sent him out. And of course, now I need him. Where'd you put my IR? Unless it's on the other side, which also could happen. See? It's never that easy, is it? Dun, 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 dun. Sling-a-ding, down, down. See me searching. Should just pop up. You know what? Let's do Marshall. See what happens. Wave, wave, wave. Do 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 do. Okay, best laid plans of mice and men. I don't know where they got moved to. See? Just like everybody else, some things aren't as straightforward. They've been moved, but I don't know where he moved them to. All right, I can deal with the zzz a little bit inside of the track, but I think I do want to put a different IR on it. But let's have a listen. Okay, so I think it's about listening from the top and finding and just listening and making decisions.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live regretting it all.
AJJ disc, apparently. Okay. Go to Warren. Go to here. Go to my favorite cab. There. Open. Okay. And then on this side, I'll go to my tone tubby. Okay. Let's have a quick listen to that.
And it's the lonely that chills my bones. It's the scars that hide the truth.
Okay, so I'm going to change the input for my, now that I've got a better sound on the guitar sub, I'm actually going to change that to 1920. So now, 1920, great year. I don't know why I said that. Who knows about 1920? But anyway, so I'm now going to send it from that. So it's coming from the one that we just added the impulse responses to.
It's the scars that hide the truth. But it's my heart that makes me run right back to you. Oh, you've put me through. It's the darkness that hurts the
Cool. So I like it. It's coming in too loud. So let's bring it down a little bit. We can use, it's supposed to be supportive of the 12 string in my mind. So I'm actually going to bring, we got the 12 string all. I'm going to bring that up and see if we can get a better blend. So I was doing there, I was still getting a bit more grit out of that bass. I just wanted to be like, yeah, you know, we're coming into the end of the song.
it's the darkness that hurts the most. The lonely that chills my bones. It's the scars that hide.
Brought those just a little bit.
It's the darkness that hurts the most.
up the whole outro vocal, about a half. So I'm just bringing up the reverb there on the out, and I'm also just automating it slightly up. Yeah, absolutely. I'll have Eric upload this afterwards so you can... the only thing I've done you can replicate is mute some breaths and stuff, which I think I could do more of after the end of this. Just that on the backgrounds. And then, you know, I did that little thing here to get this word up.
It's the most, it's the lonely that chills my bones. On you, it's the rose, the darkness that hurts.
I'm a little, I've got to decide, is that tight enough? I don't remember if I've got vocal line. It's been years since I've used it on this computer. Do we have vocal line on here? Other?
I don't think we do.
I don't think we do. Okay. I just got to decide, like, is this... Nis, it's like super, super aggressive on that. It's that. It's like there's a double going on there. That's a mistake. So look, an edit, you see? That and that is the same. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a chunk here, like this, and I'm going to replicate it. I can hear it. You hear it? Like, that was that double. And that means also I'm going to see if I can wipe off some more of the top end on this. So on the echo rec here, I'm going to wipe off on that slap back, take off some of the high end. Just smooth it out a bit, but more drive as well. Put the lead in. You know what? Some of it's in there.
That hurts the most, the darkness that hurts.
So, I mean, this is the kind of schnizzle I do. Like a little bit of editing here and there. I'm going to do the same thing here. Bring that down. So what I'm doing is I'm clip gaining down the front of that word a little bit. Find a point where it's more even.
Darkness that hurts the most, the darkness that hurts the most. The darkness that hurts the most.
Cool. So don't be afraid to do things like that. You know, just edit. You know, if you've got a little bit too much attack on something, don't go and sit there and rebalance all your attack and release on your compression and everything when it's just a word or two. You know, it's like we talk about with de-essing. It's like sometimes in de-essing, you spend ages trying to find the right de-esser, and sometimes it's just better to turn the S down, and then you're fine. I mean, I could de-ess this whole track manually in about 10 minutes, or I could spend 20 minutes trying to figure out what the right de-esser is, and it will only work some of the time and not all of the time.
Oh, you've put me through. It's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills.
Like that breath, I'm going to bring it down. I mean, I don't mind it. It's just a bit dominating that I don't want to completely get rid of it, but at the same time, do I need it in the backgrounds? Do I need it there? No. Quite often I'll just be like, I'll hear this and I'll say I'll go and check email or answer questions and stuff like that, and I'll just have Eric do this. He'll just come in and clean up some of this stuff, so, but yeah, things like that. In the backgrounds, I don't need to hear the
Oh, it's the darkness that hurts the most, and it's the lonely that chills my bones. It's the scars that hide the truth.
See here? I don't need those. I don't need them in the background. I don't need them in the harmony. I can just go.
Chills my bones. It's the scars that hide the truth. But it's my heart that makes me run right back to you.
I almost want to go a bit silly on that and do this.
Right back to you.
So I'm just adding some more of that verb. I'm going to go even crazier. Crazy man. I'm going to bring it up there as well. So the whole outro chorus has got more verb on it regardless. And you can, get this session, you can add more verbs. I have no problem with having 5 reverbs on a track. None whatsoever. Quite often I go crazy.
It's wrong to want you.
All right, so the bass grind is fantastic in the choruses. Not so good in the verse there. So again, we're in automation mode. So let's go here and find this. So it might be a rebalance of individual elements, or it might be a case of
A man with you, that's all I know. You turn your back.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just rebalance this. So we'll take here like this.
You were one I should have never let go. A man with you, that's all I know.
So you see what I'm doing? I'm taking the Sanzam element and bringing it down in the verses.
Right back to you.
Okay, that's the one thing I forgot. Where's the floor tom, Warren? Where's the floor tom? Let's have some fun with that. Let's just go in and get... You know what? We were having a discussion about how not to use the MV2. At the moment, it's got a stock EQ on it. So let's do this. Let's duplicate just that floor tom channel. And let us grab something stock, because we were having this discussion. What is the most stock compressor? We have Dyne 3. Okay, so this is the stock Pro Tools one. So you can hear the whole time. Now we can blend that to taste. Let's do the whole drum kit. Did that crazy mono mic here. When that last section comes in, let's bring up that reverb on the snare. Bring up the snare overall. Let's bring up just that little fill, and then let's bring up the reverb on that fill a bit. Exaggerate it. I was a little hesitant about the hi-hat, and I was keeping it quite low, but make sure that's out of the way of the kick. Now, we don't want to get into everything louder than everything else situation, but I do want the excitement to come up there. So I'm bringing up the piano just a little bit as well. I was mixing a Rick Springfield song a couple of weeks ago, and he sent me notes, and he's like, turn this up, turn that up. And he's very smart. And then he sends us another email going, I hope that doesn't come across like turn everything up. But he was very smart. He was like turning up individual elements that were definitely focusing on it. But it's a joke. We all understand that sometimes that's all you're doing is you keep turning things up and up. But it definitely needs to get bigger and more aggressive there. See what's going on with our master bus. So we basically, everything's going through that because it's floating point. It's not going to distort, but I can definitely, it definitely feels like it's on the verge. So let's go. What am I going to use? I've got quieter. Give me a second. I will get louder now. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to grab something that we're happy with that you can put on a master bus. So I don't know. It's a tough one. I think I would go waves. What can we do? Something SSL-ish. I don't need to put any fancy person's name on it. I just want something that sounds pretty sweet. Let's just try the SSL comp and see how it feels. If this was my console, it'd be on auto, so I'm going to auto. Okay, I'll listen from the top.
Can't forget our past love. Can't live regretting it all. Our mistakes weren't worth making. I couldn't help myself in love. I've been bound to fall. It's the darkness that hurts the most. It's the lonely that chills my bones. And it's the scars that hide the truth. But it's my heart that makes me run right back to you. You were one I should have never let go. A
Okay, so I did quite a few things on the fly there, which is sort of, I like to move quickly and instinctively. One thing I just need to quickly do is I need to bring the piano down the end. I love the vocal going into all that reverb there. It just sounds super dreamy. The piano is down, but I'm going to bring it down a little bit more. Have a listen here.
Right back to you.
Tempted. I wonder if I should just fade that out. Let's see what it feels like. So a little bit more like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I like that. Okay, so what did I do? I did some very quick things. I brought down the floor tom part in the second verse. It was great, but it was just too loud. It's the B section of the second verse. Excuse me. I brought up the kick. Actually, no, I didn't. I kept the kick at the same place in the choruses, but brought it down in the verses. The bass, brought down the bass in the first chorus and actually in the last chorus. Tempted to even bring it down a little bit more, but let's have a listen.
You were one I should have never let go. A memory of you, that's all I know. You turn your back on loving now. Tearing up my
I really like where it's going. Let's oh, and then tambourine. I brought that down in the second B section, and in here. I want to try something fun. Let us go. That last piano hit. Let's try this. So what I'm going to do is just grab a generic reverb, deverb, default, print it, and then gain it. I know this is going to sound silly, but turn it up. And then take the clean signal and blend it into that with a nice big fat fade, and have a listen to this. Didn't like that. Oh, I know why. I do like it. That's because that wasn't what I wanted to do. Because now we have to undo some of this. Not a good reverb. Okay. It's not great. Last chord. Let's think about something. Let's go ambient. Go something a bit brighter. Open up the high end. Go large. Let's try this. Church, maybe? Open up the high end again. Tempted to see what. I'm trying to make it sound not as aggressive, because that's what I don't like about it. It sounds like it goes bang. So let's do this. Anyway, try some of your own ideas on that. I kind of like that. I might change my mind later, but so I'm pretty happy where we're at. Pretty darn happy. And it's 104. So have some fun with it. Eric will upload this. I mean, there's still probably tons of little bits and pieces like we could go through and do with the vocal. Take out some of the breaths, all that kind of schnizzle. Let's see at the end there how that SSL bus compressor is doing. Oh yeah, I brought down those backgrounds. I forgot to say. You probably noticed, but if you go and revisit the video, I brought those backgrounds down quite a lot. Couple of reasons. Like, there's nowhere to go if I give away that those big harmonies. It's like, what do you do when you at the end of that? Anyway, Eric will load up the this session file so you can drop stuff in and just, you can use my thing, you can work off it, you could do different stuff, you can make it better. It's great. There's definitely more detail will really take it over the edge. Fantastic. Now I'm going to eat a sandwich and do some more work. I want to do a video on low end stuff, so we'll film that in a little bit for Monday. Just talking about all the stuff that we talk about with low end. Anyway, have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Enjoy mixing this song. I'm excited to hear what everybody does. We'll come back and start listening to your mixes on this. Have a marvelous time recording, mixing. See you again very soon on Wednesday. Is it Wednesday we're doing? No, Wednesday we're doing live stream from Sunset. But it's the following Wednesday. Following Wednesday, we're going to do your own mixes and productions and songs. And so feel free to start putting those in. I don't know, did we get the forum made for that yet? That we talked about yesterday? I guess it's a no because it's a All right, so that's next. That's not this Wednesday coming. It's the Wednesday after that. You're going to get to do your own production, put your own productions in there, your own mixes, your own songs, everything. And we'll all get to share those and listen to them. Okay. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. And I'll speak to you all again very, very soon. Bye.